Hey everybody, this is another Q&A. One of our patron members asked a question about, it was two parts. It was about how to get your horse to rate their speed at a trot and at a canter. And then part two was about how do we ride the trot and canter better in order to not be bouncing around and maybe even causing our horse to speed up there. So how do we control our body, and then how do we give the horse responsibility to slow down? So I'm going to answer the first part about getting our horse to rate our speed, and I'm going to bring my wife in, Emily, who's kind of specializes in rider biomechanics and just being able to stay with our horse and ride better. So she's going to set up this first part, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is a really important part about riding our horses, is working on ourselves. So let's jump into it.
Hey guys, I'm Emily Rose from Reaching Strides Equine Rehab, and I'm here to talk to you today specifically about how to activate our core to be a better rider. So there's many reasons why we want a strong core, but particularly for riding, it provides us with stability in the saddle. It provides our horses with more consistent and clear communication from us if we're not flopping around like a fish out of water up here. And it also helps generally make us better rider for safety wise, less likely to come off. So I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about how to activate your core, and being a physical therapist, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of the human anatomy and the really important muscles that contribute to core strength. If we think about our core, it's not just those six-pack abs that we all have in the front here. It's actually almost like a box, okay? So if we think about our box, let me just tuck this in here. We've got the box, the front side of the box. So this is a lot of our abdominal muscles that we can feel. Additionally, some deeper ones that we'll talk about. The back side of the box, some of these back muscles, as well as deeper ones that we can't feel. Okay, then we've got the top of the box, which is our diaphragm, which helps us breathe. So that's actually a muscle. And the bottom of the box is our pelvic floor. Okay, so there's different ways we can train all of these different muscles, but we're going to focus a little bit more in depth today on the front and the back of the box and the bottom of the box being your pelvic floor for proper core contraction for a rider. Okay, so the first step I want to kind of introduce you to is how to turn on your core muscles. You can do this sitting in your chair, watching television, or looking at your computer, watching this video right now. You can do it while you're in the saddle. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. What I'm getting at is it doesn't matter what position you're in to try and practice turning on your core and strengthening it, okay? So our first step that we're gonna do is we're gonna pull our belly button back towards our spine, okay? And it's kind of like the analogy of suck it in, except when we say suck it in, that's way too much activation. I'm not looking for that much right now. I kind of picture if I tied a string to the back of your belly button and I was standing behind you and I was kind of reeling it in, can you just gently feel that pull on the back of your belly button, pulling it backwards towards your spine? When you do that, you should feel everything kind of tighten in through here in this front part of your box of your core. A good way to know if you're doing this right is if you find your hip bones here and you drop your fingers to the inside of there. What I want you to do when you're here is either cough or blow out the candles and feel what happens under your fingers. I feel those muscles tighten, okay? Now take he's like, what was that? Keep those fingers there. Now, instead of blowing out the candles, I want you to just pull your belly button in towards your spine. You should feel the same muscles activate in the front of your box or the front of your core here, okay? Those deep muscles are called your transversus abdominis. They run almost like a girdle way deep inside of you. You can't even feel them when you're pushing around on your core, okay? So that's step one. Step number two that you need to do to kind of activate the core is going to be a Kegel. The best way I can describe a Kegel exercise is to stop the flow of pee. If you were going to the bathroom and somebody walked in on you and you stopped and I'm not going, that's what I want you to feel. So I want you to do step one, pull your belly button in towards your spine. Now step two, activate your pelvic floor. You can see my horse responding to this, like, what is she doing up there? Because they can feel this too, you guys. And we'll talk a little bit how this is relevant to the horse as well. So I've got my belly button pulled in. I've contracted my pelvic floor doing a Kegel exercise. I'm holding them both together while we're chatting right now. When you do step 1 and step 2 together, it automatically turns on the back of the box, okay? The muscles that lie along your back side. These muscles back here are pretty deep. You can't feel them, and you can't just be sitting here and say, okay, I've got my back core muscles on. You have to do step 1, belly button in, step 2, Kegel together, and that turns on the back side of your core, okay? So once we found this strengthening in just a static, still position, I want you to practice it on your horse, at a walk, at a trot, at a canter. Do it in motion. See how long you can hold this for. Notice that you got to believe me here, but I'm doing it this whole time that I'm talking to you. It's not a contraction like this. It's not a can't talk, not breathing sort of contraction. It's really gentle because we want to just kind of increase the volume on those muscles a little, not a lot. You just want to turn them on a little more than they usually are, okay? So I challenge you to kind of work on activating your core while you're riding your horse. Doing step 1, step 2 together. See what happens when you do that. Now I did bring up a point that it's sort of, how can we relate this to our horse? When you do these steps together, I don't know about you, but I feel like it creates a little bit of space under my seat bones here. And that's an invitation for my horse's back to come up into there. When we're riding our horses and we talk about self-carriage and collection, we actually want our horses to do the same thing, kind of pull their belly button in, which starts to round their back, activate their pelvic floor, be able to shift weight onto the hind end. So we also need to be doing that same thing as a rider and creating the space for our horse's back to come up and meet our seat. Okay? So I challenge you guys to work on some core strengthening while you're in the saddle. Be kind to yourself. Just start with a little bit at a time and work on it each ride, building up until it becomes automatic for you and you don't have to think about it anymore. Thanks so much for watching.